194. Let's get to a random film, which is It's Complicated from 2009, written and directed by Nancy Meyers. Stars Meryl Streep, Steve Martin, Alec Baldwin, John Krasinski, Lake Bell, a few others. And the synopsis is when attending their son's college graduation, a couple reignite the spark in their relationship. But the complicated fact is they're divorced and he's remarried. So I saw this one in full only maybe 6 months ago. Had maybe seen it when I was younger, like with my mom had watched it possibly, but I knew bits and pieces of it, but had never watched it all the way through on my own. I like Nancy Meyers a lot. She's done The Holiday, The Intern, Something's Gotta Give, and love Meryl Streep. And I do really like Alec Baldwin, although it's very sad what has happened to him with this legal case, although that's now been thrown out. With Nancy Meyers, I really put her in the same category as someone like Judd Apatow, who did 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, where they're able to create a very realistic tone and how people speak and act in real life situations, which it's easy to take that for granted. But in this kind of movie, or like in The Holiday, they feel like real people, and the comedy and then the drama within the same scene or within just the same movie feels authentic as much as it can. Although, of course, things are still a little romanticized and stuff like that. But she is really one of a kind in that way, or at least one of the best. Didn't know much about the movie in terms of plot. And from what I've read, it's one of the lesser movies, I think, in terms of Nancy Meyers fans. And I think I'm sort of there. I've seen all of her movies, at least directed movies at this point, I believe. I still enjoyed it for sure, but it mainly hinges on people like Meryl Streep and the cast as opposed to the story itself, where I think what brings it down is that, for example, in The Holiday, you have the core four characters who are just vacation house swapping, and they get involved with various people. And then, for example, Kate Winslet in that movie, she meets Jack Black, who is in a relationship, but she doesn't try to engage or to ignite something considering he's already involved. But then later on in that movie, spoiler, he gets cheated on. So then you have more sympathy for him. And then they allude to a relationship later. But in this, both Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin, while yes, they were previously married, they're now both cheaters. You know, she's cheating on him while he's with another woman, and then vice versa for him. And so it's harder to create more sympathy or relatability to them as opposed to if they were just reigniting their marriage, but they weren't hurting anyone in the process. So I think that is by far, I don't mind if you want to tell a story about people cheating or having affairs. You know, there's a lot of comedy in it for sure, but the fact that this is a 2 hour long movie and the core of the movie is Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin being together, it's harder to stay fully connected and root for them, which maybe that's not what you're supposed to do, I guess, but it's a weird, somewhat confused message for the movie. I'm like, all right, am I supposed to feel sorry for them? Am I supposed to like them? It's a little in the middle. So that brings the movie down for sure. It is a little long overall. Most Nancy Meyers movies are longer than they need to be, but at the same time, that's why I relate her to Judd Apatow, where they can take what would normally be a generic 90-minute romantic comedy and make it 2 hours and 15 minutes and really add more character and more depth and world building, so to speak. So I don't mind that it's that long, but I think this one, it warranted the longer runtime the least of a lot of the other films that she's made. But besides that, performances across the board are great. John Krasinski's character is a favorite for sure, where he's noticing Alec Baldwin and Meryl Streep and their secrets, but he does his best to stay out of it and to shield the rest of the family, at least in some ways. So that's a very enjoyable character. And there are a lot of very funny moments. I think one of the best is when he sees Meryl and Alec at the hotel when he's with his, I guess, fiance or wife or whoever it is. So that's really funny. The times where Alec Baldwin just shows up and causes trouble, that's usually entertaining. And I really do like Steve Martin in it. He's great in everything. It's hard not to like Steve Martin, but I really enjoy his character. So if there's anyone involved in this movie that you like, or you like this sort of film, I would definitely check it out for sure. You could do a lot worse, and there's still a lot of things to think about, and it's just enjoyable being in a Nancy Meyers movie, even if it's dealing with things that aren't okay. Just being in that world with some of those characters and in that tone, always appreciate that about her. And yeah, that is a light 3.5 out of 5.